fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
Rain hammered the stone walls of the old tavern, each drop a frantic drum against the thatch roof. I pressed my back against the cold hearth, the scent of pine smoke mingling with the metallic tang of blood that lingered from the night's earlier skirmish. In my palm, the flash drive pulsed like a frozen ember, a stark contrast to the heat blooming in my chest whenever Leela's eyes found mine. The tavern was a hollowed-out cavern of timber and stone, low beams sagging under centuries of weight. Flickering torchlight threw amber shadows that danced across rough-hewn tables, and the low murmur of other travelers was swallowed by the storm outside. I could feel the vibration of each raindrop against the roof, a relentless percussion echoing the thudding of my own heart. The air was thick with the smell of wet wool, damp earth, and the faint, sweet perfume of spiced cider that drifted from a nearby kettle. Elena Voss, a voice rasped, low and velvety, as a woman stepped from the doorway. The storm had forged her hair into a dark cascade, each strand slick with rain, and her eyes glowed molten gold flecked with amber like a furnace caught in a sudden gust. She was Leela Crane, the journalist who had saved my life in the alley 3 weeks ago, and now she stood before me, drenched and defiant. Leela, I breathed, my throat raw. The name tasted like rain on my tongue, a promise and a warning rolled together. My breath fogged in the chill air, and I could see the faint blue pulse of the flash drive against my skin. I tried to steady the tremor in my hands, remembering the way her hand had found mine that night, the way her grip had been both a lifeline and a spark. She brushed a stray lock from my cheek, her fingertips scorching as if she carried a hidden ember. The reckoning isn't a story, Elena. It's a curse that feeds on love, on the fire we hide inside. Her breath brushed my ear, a whisper of violet flame that seemed to set the very air alight. I smelled wild thyme and midnight jasmine, the perfume that always clung to her, and my pulse quickened. Behind us, the tavern's hearth crackled, and from the shadows a beast emerged, its horns twisted like ancient antlers, its eyes burning violet. It prowled forward, the scent of ozone and wet stone filling the room, and I felt Leela's hand tighten around mine, her grip a promise that whatever darkness rose, we would face it together. The creature's fur was slick with rain, each hair standing on end as static crackled around its massive form. Its breath was a low, guttural rumble that seemed to vibrate the very stones beneath our feet. I could see the faint runes etched into its hide, glowing faintly like dying embers. My mind raced, cataloging every detail, the way its claws scraped the floor, the way its tail swished with a rhythm that matched the storm outside. "Stay close," Leela whispered, her voice a low chant that seemed to weave itself into the very fabric of the tavern. "We have to bind it before it reaches the heart of the village." She slipped a small vial of silver liquid from her coat, the liquid catching the torchlight and scattering it like 1,000 tiny stars. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the flash drive in my pocket. It contained the last fragment of the ancient prophecy, a fragment that could either seal the beast or unleash it upon the world. My thoughts flickered back to the night 3 weeks ago, when Leela had pulled me from the alley, blood staining the cobblestones, her eyes fierce and unyielding. I remembered the way she had said, "You're not alone, Elena, not while I breathe." Those words had become a mantra, a shield against the darkness that had chased me ever since. The beast lunged, its massive head lowering, horns aimed at our throats. I felt the heat of its breath on my face, a mixture of rain-soaked musk and something older, something primal. Instinctively, I thrust the flash drive forward, the blue light flaring bright enough to cut through the gloom. The creature recoiled, a howl of pain echoing off the stone walls, and for a heartbeat the world seemed to hold its breath. Leela moved with a fluid grace, uncorking the vial and sprinkling the silver liquid across the beast's flank. The liquid sizzled on contact, sending a cascade of violet sparks into the air. The beast's eyes flared brighter, then dimmed, as if a veil had been lifted from its sight. "Now, Elena," she shouted, her voice ringing like a bell, "recite the binding." I closed my eyes, feeling the words rise from deep within me, the ancient syllables that had been etched into my blood the night my mother whispered them to me as a child. The rain outside seemed to quiet, the storm holding its breath as I spoke. "By fire and by storm, by love that burns unseen, I bind you, creature of night, to the earth and to the dream." The words resonated through the tavern, vibrating the wooden beams, shaking the iron sconces. The beast let out a final, mournful roar before collapsing onto the stone floor, its massive body curling into a heap of fur and ash. The violet glow in its eyes faded, replaced by a soft, amber light that seeped into the cracks of the floorboards. Leela's hand found mine again, her grip warm despite the cold rain that still drummed on the roof. "You did it," she said, her voice trembling with awe and relief. "You saved us all." I stared at the creature's still form, feeling a strange mixture of triumph and sorrow. The flash drive in my pocket pulsed once more, a gentle reminder that the story was not yet finished. The curse of the reckoning had been halted, but the prophecy hinted at a deeper darkness, one that fed not only on love but on the very act of loving. "Layla," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the rain, "what now? The village will need us, the stories we've yet to tell." She smiled, a soft curve of her lips that lit up the dim tavern like sunrise. "We write the next chapter together. The world will hear our song, and the darkness will have no place to hide." Outside, the storm began to ease, the rain softening to a gentle patter. The tavern's hearth glowed brighter, casting a golden halo around us. I could feel the heat of the fire seeping into my bones, warming the chill that had settled in my heart. We sat at a rough-hewn table, the flash drive now resting between us like a fragile heart. Leela pulled out a battered notebook, its pages stained with ink and rain. She began to write, her pen moving with a rhythm that matched the lingering drum of the rain. "In the night of the reckoning, when love became a weapon, two women stood against a beast born of fear," she read aloud, her voice a melody that seemed to stitch the torn edges of the night back together. I listened, feeling each word settle into me like a stone placed in a river, creating ripples that would travel far beyond these walls. The tavern's patrons, once strangers, now watched us with reverent eyes, their faces illuminated by the fire's glow. A young man at the far end raised his mug, a silent toast to the two of us. I caught Leela's eye, and she raised hers in return, a silent promise that whatever storms lay ahead, we would face them side by side. The night stretched on, the rain a soft lullaby, and the fire crackled like a heartbeat. I thought of the flash drive, its blue light now steady, a beacon of hope. I thought of the beast, its ash now part of the tavern's floor, a reminder that darkness could be turned to dust. "Do you ever wonder," Leela asked, her voice low, "if the curse will ever truly end, if love can ever be safe?" I smiled, feeling the warmth of the fire and the heat of her hand. "Love is never safe," I replied, "but it is always worth the risk." She leaned in, her forehead resting against mine, the scent of jasmine and rain mingling in the space between us. "Then let's keep risking," she whispered, "for every story, for every heart that beats in the dark." The storm outside finally gave way to a quiet drizzle, the world outside the tavern washed clean, as if the night itself had been reborn. We stayed there, two women bound by destiny, by love, by the fire that refused to be extinguished. When the first light of dawn crept through the tavern's shutters, we rose together, the flash drive safely tucked away, the notebook now filled with the first lines of a new legend. The village would awaken to a tale of courage, of a curse broken by love, and of two women whose hearts burned brighter than any storm. As we stepped out into the fresh morning air, the rain-slick cobblestones glistened like a field of stars. Leela took my hand, her grip firm, her eyes shining with the same molten gold that had first drawn me in. "Whatever comes," she said, "we write it together." I nodded, feeling the weight of the world lift, replaced by a fierce, unyielding certainty. The road ahead would be long, the shadows will always linger, but with Leela by my side, the story would never end. And so, with the wind whispering promises of new adventures, we walked toward the sunrise, the flash drive humming softly in my pocket, a reminder that the tale was still unfolding, page by page, heartbeat by heartbeat.